Our next speaker will be Bhairavi Desai, followed by Christopher Greif.
Good morning. My name is Bhairavi Desai. I'm the executive director of the New York Taxi Workers Alliance. I wish this were a historic day of good proportion, but it feels more like a historic day of infamy. This is the day that the MTA has officially said to the yellow cab industry that you do not have a right to exist on the streets of New York City. Even though cabs are 1% of vehicle traffic, even though since COVID, the taxi fares are down by 62% from January 2019 versus January 2024. Even though 35% of medallion taxis are not even operational, they don't cause the congestion. And even with less cars, each individual driver that's working is still earning 39% less trips in 2024 compared to 2019. They work 6 to 7 days a week. They have none of the benefits of a paid job. They're barely making a minimum wage. This would be the third tax on their backs. They've already contributed $1 billion to the MTA since 2009. They've been charged 50 cents per trip before anybody else, and then $2.50 per trip since 2019. Uber and Lyft have a way out of that charge because if a customer requests a group ride, they only have to collect 75 cents. The MTA, Ms. Michelson, at the TMRB hearing itself said that Uber and Lyft, which by the way have 57,143 vehicles per day compared to less than 7,500 taxis, admitted that not only do they cause the congestion, but they've had more elasticity and they have more fare flexibility. What you are doing today, you yourself allowed these taxis to operate on the streets. There's not one taxi that was allowed onto the streets without the approval of the state legislature. Shame on you. Taxis should be exempt.
Our next speaker will be Christopher Greif, followed by Deborah Greif.
But we all need to see the data once this operation starts. And I'm really eager to see the air quality data, the traffic data. And I'm also really interested in how this will impact the taxi industry. And so that'll be something that we'll coordinate with, I'm sure, the Taxi and Limousine Commission. I spoke last time that I thought taxis should have gotten an exemption, but I see that it is better than what was originally intended in the legislation, which talked about $15 per trip to $1.25 per trip. So I do believe that there's thoughtfulness in attempting this, but I am really interested in seeing that data. The MTA is committed to making the data available online, and so I am eager to see that move forward. And I ask our fellow board members to keep our eye on the ball when it comes to that data. And let's be vigilant in making sure that this program works. The vote has been a long time in coming. I'm proud to vote yes. I understand that it's an extremely complex policy, so super impressed by the staff and the team and the chair for shepherding this along.
I do want to note and echo what board member Valdivia said. We remain concerned about the plight of taxi drivers. Because TLC keeps such granular data on trips and on earnings without very little lag, or with very little lag, we will be able to quickly see the effects. And although today's vote is a tremendous move ahead from the original recommendation, moving it to a per trip and reducing drastically the amount, it does not exempt taxis. So I'd advocate for the state to re-examine the 2018 law that created the second congestion fee that's on taxis as a pathway for possible relief if necessary. I am happy to see the final tolling plan protects school buses and vehicles provide
this one. I'm sorry. There were no exemptions despite all of the public comments, and the city was concerned about the yellow cab industry. What was the thought process in not granting at least the yellow cab exemption?
Well, I think that, I don't want to overlook what was done with respect to yellow cab and for hire vehicle tolls in this. Originally, it was contemplated they would pay a daily toll like every passenger car driver. And what came out of the EA in the first round of hearings that we did in connection with NYTWA was the importance of having it be a per ride toll that's passed along to the customer. So that was a win for the yellow cab industry and a win for hire vehicles. They wanted it structured as a pass through to the rider. Then we balanced, the TMRB actually balanced the scales and said, the yellow cab industry, in light of its, the difficulties that it has experienced, should have a much lower toll than the for hire vehicles, who have to some extent crowded them out of the market. And as a result, the yellow cab piece of the toll is $1.25, whereas the Uber and Lyft, or the for hire vehicles, the app-based for hire vehicles, are $2.50. So they made I'd say the industry made a lot of progress through the process. Obviously, they would have preferred it to be zero, but there was a huge deference given to their unique role in New York and their economic conditions.
Be reevaluated at some point, depending on the data?
Right now, I mean, we've come to a stopping point, but part of our responsibility is to do an evaluation and a monitoring of traffic and a ton of other issues, and we're going to bring those answers. It's all going to be very open because we are a super open data organization at this point.
All right, if I could just direct you, Janno, to the Zoom equipment where Christopher